20 more 1970s fads you almost forgot. Take a trip back to the 70s, where quirky and unique trends ruled the scene. From the clacker craze to the King Tut dance moves, ever wondered why guys rocked the rat tail hairstyle or ate parsley garnish on their plates? Let's dive into the odd fads that made this unforgettable decade. DIY fads. Playgrounds and schoolyards in the 70s were buzzing with simple, yet endlessly entertaining fads that brought kids together. One trend that captured everyone's attention was braiding colorful plastic strands into friendship bracelets. Kids would spend hours weaving these bright bands, often swapping them with friends as symbols of camaraderie. Another favorite was mastering the game of cat's cradle, where kids would use string to create intricate patterns with their hands, challenging each other to come up with new designs. Old-school games like jacks and tetherball were staples of childhood, and you could find them in nearly every schoolyard. The rhythmic bouncing of a ball during a game of jacks, or the satisfying smack of the tetherball hitting the pole, were sounds that defined many afternoons. Foursquare was also a go-to game, with kids competing for control of the best square and working together to keep the ball in play. Marble season. One of the most exciting and sometimes chaotic times for school kids was marble season. It wasn't just a casual game, it was a full-on frenzy that took over every recess. Marbles became much more than just toys. They were like little treasures, with each marble carrying its own value. Kids would choose their best ones, often with the goal of showing off their prized collection or winning others' marbles in various games. The playground turned into a battleground as kids competed in games like Ringer and Pee-wee, all while trying to outsmart and outplay each other. For many, marbles became a form of currency, trading, betting, and boasting about who had the best ones. The excitement was palpable, and the stakes felt high. But with all the thrill came a bit of chaos, as the competitive energy often spilled over. Marbles would roll across the schoolyard, disappearing into cracks or getting lost under benches. Even though it could get a little wild, marble season left behind a treasure trove of memories. For those who experienced it, it's one of those moments from childhood that never quite fades away. CB radios. Back in the 70s, CB radios became more than just a tool. They turned into a cultural craze, especially in small towns and rural areas. It was a time when truckers and everyday drivers alike would take to the roads, using fun handles like Road Dog or Van Man to chat with one another. These were more than just nicknames. They were part of a whole new subculture that grew up around these radios. The language that came with it? Totally unique. People would toss around phrases like breaker 19, when trying to get through on the airwaves, and you'd often hear, watch for a bear in the bushes, a coded way to warn others about cops hiding out along the highway. It was like a secret code everyone seemed to know. But CB radios weren't just about the lingo or the fun of talking to strangers. They served a real, practical purpose. Drivers used them to swap live updates about everything from road conditions to speed traps, turning the radio into an unofficial, low-tech version of modern-day GPS apps like Waze. So, while people were having a good time chatting, they were also getting valuable info to make their trips safer and more efficient. It was the perfect mix of fun and function. Klackers. In the 1970s, one toy that sparked both excitement and frustration was Klackers. These were two hard plastic balls connected by a string, and though they seemed simple enough, they were far from easy to master. Kids would try to make the balls click together by swinging them back and forth, but more often than not, they would end up with painful whacks to the hands. The toy's popularity quickly led to safety concerns, as it became clear that the plastic could shatter upon impact, making Klackers a brief but memorable fad. Stingray bicycles. Ever take a look at those old bikes? and wonder about the strange features they had? One that really stands out is the sissy bar, a tall backrest that was all the rage in the 60s and 70s. Now, the sissy bar wasn't just some random feature slapped onto a bike. It was designed to mimic the tall seats you'd see on chopper-style motorcycles, which were part of the biker culture that was taking off during that time. Movies like Easy Rider really fueled that trend, and the sissy bar became a way to bring that tough, cool biker look to kids' bikes. But here's the twist. The term sissy bar might make you think it was something for weaklings, right? Actually, it was the complete opposite. If your bike didn't have a sissy bar, you were the sissy. It was a symbol of toughness and style, a rite of passage for kids who wanted to look like they were ready to hit the road, just like those chopper-riding rebels in the movies. Sure, today it might seem a bit out of place, but back then, having a sissy bar was the ultimate sign that you were a biker in the making. And these bikes? They were called Stingrays, made by Schwinn, the brand that really brought these wild, custom-styled bikes to life. Diet fads. Diet fads have always come and gone, but some have left a lasting impact, especially for those who were kids when they were introduced. In the 60s and 70s, popular diets like Weight Watchers and the Scarsdale diet were all the rage, along with more extreme options like the Stillman diet and even diet pills. These weren't just trends for adults. Kids were often pushed into these restrictive eating plans too, with serious consequences. The thing is, these diets were sold as quick fixes, easy ways to drop weight fast. But they weren't harmless. The pressure to conform to unrealistic body standards, combined with the severe restriction of food, led to problems that didn't just vanish after the diet was over. In fact, for many, the obsession with weight only deepened over time, leaving behind a legacy of unhealthy relationships with food and body image. Which 70s fad do you remember the most fondly, and why? California Raisins. One fad that's faded into the past is the unforgettable California Raisins. But this wasn't just another ad campaign. It turned into a full-blown cultural icon. The California Raisins were a group of animated raisins brought to life through claymation, who sang Motown classics like I Heard It Through the Grapevine. The idea of raisins rocking out to soulful tunes captured the public's imagination and quickly became a part of pop culture. At the height of their fame, the California Raisins were everywhere, from TV commercials to toys and even special music videos. They were fun, quirky, and somehow irresistible. But as with so many trends, the California Raisins eventually faded into obscurity. Today, they're largely forgotten by younger generations. Still, for those who remember, the Raisins hold a nostalgic place in their hearts, representing a time when anything seemed possible in advertising and entertainment. Rabbit foot keychain. One of the more unusual fads that really captured people's imaginations was the rabbit foot keychain. These little furry trinkets, often dyed in bright colors, were seen as a symbol of good luck. For a lot of people who grew up in the 60s and 70s, the rabbit foot keychain was just one of many quirky collectibles that defined youth culture. Along with things like troll dolls and making chains out of gum wrappers, the rabbit foot keychain was part of a world where simple, sometimes strange, items felt like treasures. Back then, it was all in good fun. People believed carrying around a rabbit's foot would bring them luck. But today, looking back, the idea of carrying a dyed rabbit's foot might seem a little unsettling to some. One of the more quirky and fascinating fads of the time was the craze for Mexican jumping beans. These little beans seemed almost magical, moving or jumping when you held them in your hand. It wasn't just some trick. They were actually a natural phenomenon. Inside each bean was a tiny moth larva, and when the larva moved around, It caused the bean to jump. For many who grew up during that era, Mexican jumping beans became a strange yet unforgettable part of their childhood. At the time, it felt like you had a piece of nature's mystery right in your pocket. The beans weren't just toys. They were living things, with the larva inside adding an element of surprise and wonder. It's funny to think that something as simple as a little jumping bean could capture so much fascination, but for those who experienced it, Mexican jumping beans are a vivid, memorable part of their youth. Clove cigarettes. In the 1970s, clove cigarettes became a unique trend, especially among people who wanted to stand apart from the mainstream. Unlike regular cigarettes, clove cigarettes had a distinct, sweet and spicy aroma, thanks to the cloves mixed with the tobacco. It wasn't just about the act of smoking. It was about making a statement, embracing a different kind of image or lifestyle. Smoking clove cigarettes became a way to express individuality, almost like wearing a badge of rebellion. But there was also a sense of mystery surrounding clove cigarettes. Some people believed they were a healthier alternative to regular smokes because of the natural spices and the exotic flavor added to that perception. However, the truth was that clove cigarettes were just as harmful, if not worse. The clove and tobacco mix could actually increase the risk of respiratory issues, adding to the harmful effects. Despite their appeal, clove cigarettes were no healthier, just a trend wrapped in mystery and misconceptions. Fashion fads. In the 1970s, fashion and personal expression were deeply influenced by the cultural and political climate of the time. One of the most iconic trends was the POW Maillet bracelet, which became a symbol of solidarity and remembrance for soldiers missing in action during the Vietnam War. Wearing these bracelets was a way for people to show support for the troops and to keep the cause of those lost soldiers in the public eye. Personal grooming during this era was also unique, though sometimes questionable by today's standards. For example, a popular method for getting sun-kissed highlights involved squeezing lemon juice into the hair and then sitting in the sun, hoping for a natural lightening effect. Similarly, achieving the perfect tan became a priority, and many turned to Johnson & Johnson baby oil, despite it offering no sun protection. It was a time when beauty practices were often more about achieving a certain look than about safety. Fashion itself was a mix of the old and new. The 1970s saw the rise and fall of bell-bottom jeans, which were replaced by the more classic Levi's 501s toward the decade's end. This shift marked a return to a more timeless, rugged style. Around the same time, the preppy look made its debut, with Ayds shirts, distinguished by the alligator logo, becoming a symbol of status and style. The fashion of the 70s was a reflection of a changing world, with personal style being both a statement of individuality and a reflection of broader cultural shifts. Home decor fads. Home decor in the 1970s was all about making bold, statement-making choices. One of the most memorable trends was the oversized wooden utensils, huge forks and spoons, hanging on the walls of kitchens or dining rooms. These giant pieces of wood weren't just functional, they were decorative symbols of a time when everything seemed bigger and bolder. Alongside them, the starburst clock became a signature piece of 1970s decor, with its sharp, angular design, capturing the energy of the era. Fake fruit arrangements were another common sight, often placed in bowls or baskets around the house, adding a touch of color and whimsy. Kitchens were dominated by the unmistakable hue of avocado green, with appliances in this earthy tone becoming a staple of mid-century modern style. Of course, no home decor of the 70s was complete without a cuckoo clock, which brought a bit of charm and nostalgia to the room. When you put all these elements together, they created a very distinct 1970s aesthetic, one that was full of personality, bold colors, and a mix of playful and functional designs. Please comment 1 to let me know you'll be watching this video until the end. Childhood fads. Childhood in the 1970s was all about simple joys and creative fun. Hula hooping took over playgrounds and backyards, with kids trying to master the spinning hoops and compete for the longest time spent keeping them in motion. Collecting briar horses became a beloved hobby for many, with kids carefully assembling their miniature stable of beautifully crafted figures. Another popular pastime was stacking quarters on their elbows, challenging each other to see how many they could catch in the air before they fell. And then there were the makeshift motorcycles. Kids would attach playing cards to the spokes of their bicycle wheels with clothespins, creating that signature vroom vroom sound as they rode around, feeling like they were on a real bike. When it came to fashion, satin jackets were all the rage, often worn with big handled combs tucked into back pockets, adding a cool, effortless touch to any outfit. These simple but memorable activities and trends made childhood in the 70s uniquely playful, full of creativity, and always a little bit of fun. The infamous Ayds candy. The diet industry of the 1960s and 70s was filled with wild fads, and one of the most bizarre trends was the infamous Ayds diet candy. Imagine being told that you could lose weight by eating candy. Sounds too good to be true, right? Ayds candies were marketed as appetite suppressants, but in reality, they were just caramel-flavored cubes with little to no actual weight loss benefits. Despite their lack of effectiveness, Ayds became part of a larger diet culture that promised quick fixes, including other strange fads like the cabbage soup diet, which claimed to help people shed pounds rapidly. Patriotic Fads. The 1970s were a time of intense national pride, especially with the 200th anniversary of America's founding. The country came together to celebrate the bicentennial, a major milestone that sparked a wave of patriotic fervor. One standout event was a special train that traveled across the United States, showcasing displays of Americana, historical artifacts, and symbols of the nation's journey. This Freedom Train became a traveling museum, offering a unique glimpse into America's past and inspiring a sense of pride in its achievements. In addition to the train, the Queen of England's visit that same year added to the festivities. As a gift to commemorate the bicentennial, she presented the Bicentennial Bell, a symbol of shared history and friendship between the United States and the United Kingdom. The bell became a cherished symbol, and the celebrations filled the country with a renewed sense of unity and patriotism. The 1976 bicentennial was more than just a celebration. It was a reflection of America's rich history and the cultural pride of its people. Steve Martin. Steve Martin became one of the defining cultural icons of the 1970s, thanks to his unique brand of humor that combined physical comedy with sharp wit. One of his most famous routines was the King Tut walk, where he humorously danced and strutted around like the ancient Egyptian ruler. The walk became such a hit that kids everywhere started mimicking it, turning it into a trend that echoed through the decade. His influence didn't end there. A decade later, the catchy song "Walk Like an Egyptian" by the Bangles captured the same playful spirit, showing just how deeply Steve Martin's comedic influence had seeped into popular culture. Shoes and other fads. Fashion in the 1970s was all about making bold, expressive statements. It wasn't just about following trends. It was about embracing individuality. Earth shoes, with their distinctive negative heel, became an iconic choice for those seeking comfort without sacrificing style. Dr. Scholl's wooden sandals were also huge, known for their unique wooden soles and casual vibe that made them a go-to footwear option for many. Army shirts, once strictly military wear, found a new life as casual jackets, symbolizing a laid-back, almost rebellious attitude. Of course, no discussion of 70s fashion would be complete without mentioning bell-bottoms. These wide-leg pants, were everywhere, paired with platform shoes that gave people some extra height and flair. It was a time when style was all about standing out. And then there were the accessories. Mood rings, which supposedly changed color based on your emotions, became a fun and quirky trend. Spoon rings, which were literally made from bent spoons, were a hit among the fashion-forward crowd, while peace sign jewelry became a symbol of the era's counterculture and the desire for change. The 1970s were undeniably a decade of bold self-expression through fashion. Which 70s fashion trend would you totally rock today? Lifestyle fads. In the 1970s, the concept of childhood was a lot freer, with skipping school often seen as a rite of passage. It wasn't so much about rebellion, but more about embracing a sense of freedom. Summers were all about family time, where cousins felt like brothers and sisters, and everyone would gather for long days of outdoor fun. Whether it was riding bikes, swimming, or simply hanging out in the backyard, the days seemed endless, full of adventure. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, stood out as a popular vacation spot. It was the kind of place where families would flock, soaking up the sun and enjoying the simple pleasures of the beach. The vibe was relaxed, and the atmosphere was far more trusting than we experience today. People didn't worry as much about crime, and the sense of safety made these summer trips all the more enjoyable. Life moved at a slower pace, and many found joy in the little things, creating memories that would last a lifetime. The 70s truly were a simpler, more carefree time when childhood was defined by moments spent outdoors and the bond of family. Scammy Fads. In the late 1970s, the diet industry saw the rise of a misleading trend, the no-fat craze. Products like Snackwells appeared on the market, proudly boasting their fat-free labels. Advertised as healthy options, these snacks quickly became popular among health-conscious consumers. But the catch? While they were indeed fat-free, they were packed with sugar, offering little nutritional value. This trend is a perfect example of how diet fads can sometimes do more harm than good. People were so focused on avoiding fat that they ignored the bigger picture, the importance of a balanced diet. The obsession with eliminating one nutrient led many to believe that simply cutting out fat would lead to better health, without considering the hidden sugars and lack of other essential nutrients in these products. Unhealthy fads. In the 1970s, smoking was deeply ingrained in everyday life. It wasn't just something people did at home or with friends, it was everywhere. Grocery stores, doctors' offices, even hospitals and schools. There was no escaping it. Airplanes had designated smoking sections, and offices often had ashtrays on every desk. Smoking was so normalized that it seemed like a personal choice with no real consequences. What made it worse was the influence of big tobacco. Tobacco companies had immense power, with subsidies for tobacco farmers and friendly regulations that allowed smoking to thrive unchecked. The social acceptance of smoking, combined with a lack of awareness about its dangers, allowed it to spread widely. It wasn't until years later that the true health risks of smoking became clear, but by then, the damage had already been done. Looking back, it's striking to see how society's view of smoking has changed from something glamorous to a recognized health hazard. What's the most bizarre 70s fad that you think should make a comeback? Rat tail hairstyle. The rat tail hairstyle was a bold and distinctive trend for boys in the 1970s. It involved growing a thin, long section of hair at the nape of the neck, while keeping the rest of the hair relatively short or trimmed. The result was a striking contrast, short on the sides, but with that single tail-like piece at the back. It was a rebellious statement, breaking the conventional rules of hairstyles at the time. While some embraced the rat tail as a cool and edgy fashion choice, it didn't always sit well with parents, who often viewed it as peculiar or even rebellious. Despite the mixed reactions, the rat tail was undeniably a part of 1980s youth culture, and it became one of those hair trends that was either loved or hated. It certainly left its mark on the fashion world, embodying the playful and daring spirit of the era. Koala bear toys. Koala bear toys were a quirky and endearing fad that took over in the 1970s. These small, plush toys, often attached to a clip, became a popular accessory, adorning everything from backpacks to jacket zippers. The craze reflected a broader trend of collecting and showcasing novelty items, which were seen as symbols of fun and individuality during that time. The koala bear, with its signature sleepy eyes and fuzzy charm, quickly became a favorite among children, often given as small gifts or found in vending machines. Their soft, cuddly nature and clip-on feature made them both portable and collectible. Velvet fluorescent posters and black lights. Velvet fluorescent posters were an iconic part of 1970s youth culture, often featuring bold, psychedelic designs in neon colors that seemed to come alive under a black light. These posters, with their vibrant, glowing hues, captured the era's fascination with color, light, and visual stimulation, making them a popular choice for decorating bedrooms and dorm rooms. Spencer Gifts, a popular store in many malls, was the go-to destination for these eye-catching posters, as well as other novelty items that defined the era's quirky style. The combination of fluorescent colors and black lights created an almost magical atmosphere, transforming ordinary rooms into spaces filled with vibrant energy. What's the most bizarre 70s fad that you think should make a comeback? Platform shoes. Platform shoes were the ultimate fashion statement of the 1970s, synonymous with boldness and glamour. With their thick soles, often several inches high, they added dramatic height and flair to any outfit. Whether paired with bell-bottoms, miniskirts, or jumpsuits, these shoes elevated both style and stature, literally and figuratively. The platforms came in all sorts of styles, from glittery disco-ready versions to colorful, funky designs that complemented the vibrant, free-spirited aesthetic of the era. But with their towering height came inevitable discomfort. The risk of twisting an ankle or losing balance was ever present, but for many, the allure of a heightened look was worth the potential pitfalls. Despite the awkwardness of walking in them and the occasional sore feet, platform shoes became a symbol of the 1970s fearless approach to fashion. Sprig of Parsley. The sprig of parsley on restaurant plates may seem like a forgotten relic of the past, but it once played an unexpected role in dining culture, particularly in the 1970s. This humble garnish was not just there to brighten the plate. It had practical purposes that went beyond aesthetics. For many, especially those who grew up during the Great Depression, eating the parsley was seen as a way to add some green to the meal. Others believed it freshened their breath after a hearty meal, which made it a sort of natural remedy for after-dinner odors. In the world of fads, parsley became emblematic of a time when diners would expect more than just food. They'd expect rituals and traditions, no matter how quirky. The sprig wasn't just a garnish. It was a reminder of a simpler time, when diners followed customs that added a touch of charm to the dining experience. Despite its near disappearance from modern plates, parsley's place in the 1970s dining tradition serves as a nostalgic glimpse into the small, endearing quirks of the past. 20 things from the 1990s we can no longer do. Get ready to relive the 90s. We're uncovering 20-plus iconic treasures that have vanished, from dial-up internet sounds to Butterfinger BBs. Grab your Tamagotchi and cue up your favorite grunge playlist as we dive into the nostalgic relics of a decade that time forgot. Y2K panic. As the 90s drew to a close, A sense of unease mixed with excitement filled the air. The year 2000 was approaching, and with it, a technological threat that gripped the world's imagination: the Y2K bug. Experts warned that because many computer systems only used the last two digits to represent years, they might confuse the year 2000 with 1900, potentially causing widespread chaos. Imagine power grids failing, bank accounts wiped clean, planes falling out of the sky. The media fueled the flames, painting a picture of a world on the brink of collapse. Some people stocked up on supplies, preparing for a digital apocalypse. Others held their breath as the clock ticked closer to midnight on December 31st, 1999. But then, nothing. The world woke up on January 1st, 2000, and the computers kept humming. Dial-up modems. Remember dial-up modems? Those clunky boxes were our only gateway to the online world, and if you wanted to check out a new website, probably something with a super basic HTML background and flashing GIFs, you had to first make sure no one was on the phone. Dial-up modems hijacked your entire phone line, meaning any attempt at a phone call would result in a very annoyed family member. Plus, there was that sound, that iconic, ear-splitting screech as the modem struggled to connect, like a robot trying to sing opera. Painful, yet strangely nostalgic now. And even once you were finally connected, forget about quickly downloading anything because we're talking glacial speeds here. A single image could take minutes to load. Thankfully, technology has evolved at warp speed, and today most of us enjoy the luxury of broadband, Wi-Fi, and lightning-fast connections, making dial-up modems mostly relics of the past found in museums, or yes, those remember when videos that make us appreciate how far we've come. Because the shift from dial-up to broadband internet wasn't just about speed. It was a technological revolution that transformed how we communicate, consume information, and even live our lives, as dial-up restricted internet access, making it a privilege rather than a norm, while broadband's widespread availability democratized the online world, enabling new industries, social platforms, and ways of connecting globally. The minidisc era. Remember the days when we actually argued about the best music format, cassette tapes, CDs? Well, tucked away in the 90s tech battle was the minidisc player, Sony's attempt to revolutionize how we listen to tunes. These sleek little devices played these mini CDs, promising crystal clear sound and the ability to rewind and skip tracks like magic. Sony was convinced this was the future, the next big thing to crush cassette tapes. But there was a problem. Record labels weren't exactly lining up to release their albums on this newfangled format, meaning music lovers were stuck with limited options. And if you wanted to record your own mixtapes on those blank mini discs, be prepared to shell out some serious cash. They were way more expensive than blank CDs. So while the minidisc found a dedicated following in Japan, it never quite conquered the global stage. And then came the MP3 player, sounding the death knell for the minidisc and many of its disc-based brethren. It was a classic case of bad timing for the minidisc, a technology ahead of its time maybe, but ultimately overshadowed by the digital music revolution. The Rachel. The mere mention of this hairstyle conjures images of Jennifer Aniston's iconic character, Rachel Green, on the hit 90s sitcom, Friends. This layered, voluminous hairstyle became a global phenomenon, inspiring countless women to flock to salons and request the Rachel. It was the ultimate symbol of 90s chic, a look that perfectly captured the decade's blend of effortless cool and sophisticated style, characterized by its face-framing layers, feathered ends, and voluminous crown. The Rachel was particularly flattering on women with thick, straight hair, as it added movement and texture without sacrificing body. It was a versatile style that could be dressed up or down, making it a favorite for both casual and formal occasions. While Jennifer Aniston herself has famously expressed her mixed feelings about the hairstyle's popularity, there's no denying its impact on the beauty world. Butterfinger BBs. These little spheres of peanut buttery delight hold a special place in the hearts of many 90s kids, and who could forget those commercials with Bart Simpson mischievously declaring, "Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger." Because these bite-sized versions were perfect for popping in your mouth, delivering that signature Butterfinger crunch and flavor in a convenient, shareable format, making them the ideal snack for lunchboxes, movie nights, or just satisfying a sweet craving on the go. But despite their initial popularity and clever marketing, Butterfinger BBs ultimately met an untimely demise in 2006 due to a combination of declining sales and challenges in maintaining the quality of that chocolate coating, which, as many remember, was prone to melting. And while Butterfinger attempted to recapture the magic with the introduction of Butterfinger Bites, those smaller, irregularly shaped candies never quite replicated the unique appeal of the BBs. So for those who fondly remember them, Butterfinger BBs remain a symbol of 90s snacking nostalgia, representing a time when candy was fun, inventive, and perfectly portioned for on-the-go enjoyment. And while they may be gone, their memory lives on, a testament to the fleeting nature of even the most beloved treats and the enduring power of childhood snack memories. Do you still remember the taste of Butterfinger BBs? Share your memories with us. The iMac G3. This iconic computer wasn't just a machine, it was a statement. Launched in the late 90s, it was Apple's bold attempt to shake up the beige, boxy world of personal computing. Forget those clunky towers and boring monitors. The iMac G3 was a burst of color and personality, its translucent Bondi blue shell and playful, rounded design a radical departure from the norm. It was a computer that dared to be different, a symbol of creativity and innovation. But let's be honest, those early iMacs were also kind of chunky. Remember those handles on top? Yeah, you needed them. These machines weren't exactly designed for portability. They were hefty, and their shape, while undeniably unique, wasn't exactly ergonomic. But that was part of their charm. They were unapologetically different, a playful rebellion against the seriousness of traditional computers, and they were incredibly successful, helping to revitalize Apple's brand and usher in a new era of design-focused computing. Looking back, those colorful iMacs might seem a bit clunky and dated, but they represent a pivotal moment in technology history, a time when computers started to become more than just tools. They became expressions of our personalities and a reflection of our desire for technology that was both functional and beautiful. PB Crisps. Peanut butter lovers, rejoice, or maybe lament, because we're about to delve into the bittersweet nostalgia of PB Crisps, a 90s snack that captured hearts and taste buds, but vanished all too soon. Imagine this: a crunchy, peanut-shaped cookie with a creamy peanut butter filling. It was like a peanut butter cup's quirky, bite-sized cousin, and it was utterly delicious. And if you wanted to take the peanut butter experience to the next level, they even came in chocolate and strawberry-filled varieties. PB Crisps were a celebration of all things peanut butter, a snack that understood the pure joy of that creamy, nutty goodness. But alas, not everyone shared this love. Sales were sluggish, and despite a dedicated fan base, PB Crisps were pulled from shelves, leaving a peanut butter-shaped hole in our hearts and snack drawers. Even today, years after their disappearance, a devoted group of PB Crisps enthusiasts keeps the dream alive, maintaining a website dedicated to their beloved snack and hoping, against all odds, for a triumphant return. AIM, as known as AOL Instant Messenger. For those of us who came of age in the late 90s and early 2000s, the sound of an incoming AIM message was the soundtrack of our digital lives. AOL Instant Messenger, or AIM, as it was affectionately known, was more than just a messaging service. It was a social phenomenon, a virtual hangout where friendships were forged, crushes were confessed, and countless hours were spent crafting the perfect away message. Remember those iconic sounds? The door opening as you signed on, the cheery, "You've got mail" greeting, the urgent, "uh-oh" of an incoming message? AIM was a gateway to a new world of online connection, a place where you could be whoever you wanted to be, with a carefully curated screen name and a profile that showcased your personality, or at least the personality you wanted to project. But as technology marched on, AIM struggled to keep pace. Giants like Google and Facebook entered the scene with sleeker interfaces, more robust features, and perhaps most importantly, better security. Slowly but surely, AIM began to fade, its once vibrant community dwindling as users migrated to newer, shinier platforms. In 2017, AOL finally pulled the plug, bidding farewell to its iconic messaging service with a simple goodbye. It was a bittersweet moment, marking the end of an era for those who spent their formative years chatting with friends, flirting with crushes, and exploring the nascent world of online communication through AIM's familiar green and white interface. Zima. The 90s, a decade of bold fashion choices, questionable hairstyles, and clear beverages. That's right, the trend of see-through drinks extended beyond sodas and into the world of adult beverages, with Coors Zima leading the charge. Launched in 1994, this clear, fizzy malt beverage was marketed as a refreshing alternative to beer, a lighter, more approachable option for those who weren't quite ready to embrace the bitterness of a traditional brew. While Coors aimed for a broad audience, Zima quickly found a loyal following among young women, drawn to its crisp, citrusy flavor and the cool factor of its unconventional appearance. However, despite marketing efforts to appeal to men, Zima never quite caught on with the broader male demographic. Its unique taste, often described as vaguely citrusy with a hint of artificial sweetness, proved to be a bit polarizing. Some loved it, others found it perplexing, and ultimately, Zima's popularity began to wane in North America, leading to its discontinuation in 2008. But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Zima found a surprising second life in Japan, where it remained a popular beverage until 2021. This unexpected success highlights the fascinating cultural differences in taste preferences and demonstrates how a product that might flop in one market can become a beloved favorite in another. What is your most memorable experience from the 1990s? Share it with me and our audience. Bell bottoms. These iconic pants, a hallmark of the 70s, made a triumphant return in the 90s, becoming a symbol of the decade's eclectic and expressive fashion sense. Picture this: wide-legged pants that flowed out dramatically from the knee, creating a bell-like shape that swayed with every step. Often crafted from denim or corduroy, they were a comfortable and stylish choice for both casual and dressier occasions. And to truly embrace the 90s vibe, bell-bottoms were frequently paired with platform shoes, adding extra height and a touch of retro-futuristic flair. Whether you were grooving at a concert, strolling through the mall, or just hanging out with friends, bell-bottoms made a statement. They were a celebration of individuality, a bold departure from the slim-fitting styles of previous decades. CRT monitors. Those of us who spent hours upon hours in front of computers in the 90s remember them well. Those hefty beige behemoths we called CRT monitors. They dominated desks, offices, and homes, their curved screens and flickering images, a defining feature of early computing. Imagine, these things weren't just heavy, they were deep, taking up a good chunk of your desk space. But they were all we knew, their glowing phosphorus dots bringing us everything from the pixelated landscapes of early video games to the blocky text of our first Word documents. Then came the dawn of sleek, slim LCD, OLED, and plasma screens. Suddenly, Those clunky CRTs seemed almost comically oversized and inefficient. It was a classic case of technology marching on, leaving behind those once ubiquitous monitors as relics of a bygone era. Sure, a few holdouts, especially die-hard gamers, still swear by the responsiveness and unique visual qualities of CRTs, but for most of us, those bulky monitors are a reminder of how far display technology has come, a nostalgic nod to a time when computers took up a bit more, well, everything. The rise and fall of Encarta. Before Google became our go-to source for everything, and Wikipedia was our digital teacher, there was Encarta, the king of 90s knowledge. Remember those shiny CD-ROMs promising a world of information at your fingertips? Launched back in 1993, Encarta was a game changer. No more lugging around heavy encyclopedia volumes. Encarta gave us thousands of articles, complete with pictures, videos, and even interactive quizzes. It was like having a digital library in your home, updated every year with the latest facts and discoveries. But then the internet took off, and online encyclopedias, well, they became a thing. Suddenly, information was free, constantly updated and available with a simple click. Sadly, even with its multimedia magic, Encarta couldn't compete. By 2009, Microsoft had to say goodbye to their once revolutionary encyclopedia, proving that even in the world of knowledge, evolution is inevitable. Delia's catalog. Before the days of Instagram influencers and fast fashion websites, there was one true fashion Bible for 90s teens, the Delia's catalog. This iconic mail-order catalog wasn't just a collection of clothes. It was a portal to a world of cool, a guide to navigating the ever-changing landscape of teenage style. Flipping through its pages was a ritual, a chance to dream up outfits for school dances, weekend hangouts, and all the important moments in a teenager's life. Delia's offered everything from grunge-inspired plaid shirts to butterfly clips and platform sneakers, capturing the essence of 90s fashion with a playful, rebellious spirit. But as the retail landscape shifted, Delia's struggled to keep up. The rise of online shopping and fierce competition from other brands eventually led to its downfall. Despite attempts to reinvent itself as an online-only store, the magic was gone. Please comment 1 to let me know you'll be watching this video until the end. Orbits. Step aside, Crystal Pepsi. In the realm of weird and wonderful 90s drinks, Orbits reigned supreme. This wasn't your average soda or juice. It was a flavor adventure suspended in a clear, gelatinous wonderland. Remember those colorful edible beads floating around in the bottle? They were like tiny flavor capsules, promising a burst of raspberry citrus, vanilla orange, or whatever other outlandish combination they concocted. The marketing folks billed it as a thirst quencher and hunger satisfier all in one. But honestly, it was more of a sensory experience than a practical beverage. The texture was unique. Some described it as drinking a lava lamp, others as a science experiment gone deliciously wrong. But despite its novelty factor, Orbits just couldn't capture the hearts or taste buds of consumers. The strange combination of gel, gum, and a hefty dose of sugar proved to be a bit too out there for most palates. Orbits quickly faded into obscurity, becoming a legend whispered among those who dared to try it. Gaming magazines. For 90s gamers, the anticipation of a new game release wasn't just about the game itself, it was about the arrival of that coveted gaming magazine. Back then, video games were still finding their footing in the mainstream, so forget about in-depth coverage on TV or the internet, which was barely a thing. Nope. If you wanted the inside scoop on the latest releases, cheat codes to unlock secret levels, or detailed walkthroughs to conquer that impossible boss, you needed a gaming magazine subscription. Titles like Electronic Gaming Monthly, Nintendo Power, and Computer Gaming World were our Bibles, filled with glossy screenshots, passionate reviews, and even reader-submitted tips and tricks. It was a community, a shared passion for pixels and polygons, all bound together by the printed page. But as the internet exploded, the monthly magazine model couldn't keep up. Why wait weeks for a new issue when you could get instant updates, reviews, and walkthroughs online? It was a sad but inevitable shift, as most gaming magazines faded into obscurity, leaving behind a legacy of crinkled pages, dog-eared cheat code lists, and a reminder of a time when gaming news was a tangible, collectible experience. In the 1990s, how old were you and what job were you doing? Do you have any memorable experiences from that time? Floppy disks. Remember those little squares of plastic we used to carry around like prized possessions? Floppy disks. Despite the name, the 3.5-inch versions that ruled the 90s were surprisingly rigid, holding the precious megabytes of data that made up our digital lives. Need to save your school essay? Transfer a file to a friend's computer? The floppy disk was your trusty sidekick. You'd slide it into that magical slot, the A drive, and with a satisfying click, your data was on the move. These little guys were so ubiquitous that even today, the save icon in many programs is a throwback to that iconic floppy disk shape. But as our need for storage space ballooned from kilobytes to gigabytes, the humble floppy disk just couldn't keep up. They've become a relic of the past, replaced by USB drives, cloud storage, and the vast expanse of the internet. Windows 95 3D Maze. Back in the 90s, screensavers weren't just about preventing screen burn-in. They were a form of entertainment in their own right, and none captivated our imaginations quite like the Windows 95 3D Maze. This hypnotic screensaver transformed your computer into a virtual labyrinth where you'd watch, transfixed, as a disembodied cursor navigated a never-ending series of brick walls, searching for that elusive smiley face. It was like watching your computer play a rudimentary video game, always taking left turns, stumbling through the maze until it finally reached its goal and the whole thing reset, starting the journey anew. There was something strangely mesmerizing about it. We'd find ourselves guessing which path the cursor would take, trying to predict when and where that cheerful, smiley face would appear. It was a simple concept, yet it held a strange power to captivate us, a testament to the enduring appeal of puzzles and the human fascination with watching things unfold, even if those things are just pixels on a screen. And honestly, who wouldn't want to see a full-fledged game based on this classic screensaver? Imagine navigating the maze yourself, collecting power-ups, maybe even battling virtual enemies along the way. It's a missed opportunity, Microsoft. Appointment TV. Remember those days when your social life revolved around the TV schedule, when you actually had to be home at a specific time to catch your favorite show? That was the era of appointment TV. Missing an episode meant missing out on the water cooler conversation the next day, because there was no rewind, no on-demand, no streaming. You either saw it live or you didn't. Sure, some folks mastered the art of VCR programming, a skill in itself. But often, you'd find yourself wrestling with a blinking 12-er and a tangled mess of tape. But there was something special about that shared experience. Millions of people tuning in at the same time, creating a national conversation around the latest plot twist or cliffhanger. Networks thrived on this, pulling in massive ratings for their hit shows. Then came the streaming revolution, and suddenly, we were in control. Binge-watching became a national pastime, appointment TV fading into a distant memory. While some streaming services are experimenting with weekly releases to recapture that old magic, it's unlikely we'll ever fully return to those days of scheduling our lives around the TV guide. But, hey, at least we don't have to worry about setting the VCR anymore. Pogs. These colorful little discs took playgrounds by storm in the early 90s, becoming more than just a game. They were a full-blown phenomenon. Remember the thrill of stacking those cardboard discs, each adorned with a unique design, cartoon characters, sports stars, you name it, and then unleashing the mighty slammer, hoping to flip over as many as possible to claim victory and bragging rights. But Pogs weren't just about simple fun. They ignited a collecting frenzy, with kids trading and hoarding rare discs like precious treasures. And that's where things got complicated. Because let's be honest, those playground matches often involved wagering your hard-earned Pogs, turning a seemingly innocent game into something akin to gambling. Schools naturally weren't having it. The bans started rolling in, and just like that, Pogmania began to fade. While you might still stumble upon these nostalgic discs today, their heyday serves as a reminder of how quickly trends can rise and fall, especially when they bump up against societal norms and schoolyard regulations. Netscape Navigator. In the early days of the internet, a single name dominated the landscape of web browsing: Netscape Navigator. This pioneering browser, launched in 1994, was the gateway to the burgeoning online world for millions of users. It was a time when dial-up modems screeched, websites were a kaleidoscope of flashing GIFs and clunky animations, and the simple act of navigating the web felt like an exciting adventure. Netscape Navigator was our trusty guide, its blue compass logo, a symbol of exploration and discovery. But Netscape's reign wouldn't last. Microsoft, sensing the potential of the internet, launched its own browser, Internet Explorer, bundling it with its ubiquitous Windows operating system. This aggressive move, coupled with the rise of other innovative browsers like Chrome, Firefox, and Safari, gradually eroded Netscape's dominance. The once unstoppable browser struggled to keep up, its updates becoming less frequent and its features lagging behind its competitors. In 2008, Netscape Navigator sailed into the sunset, its development and support officially ceasing. While its demise might seem like a footnote in the grand narrative of the internet, Netscape Navigator's legacy is undeniable. It was the browser that introduced many of us to the wonders of the web, paving the way for the diverse and sophisticated browsing experience we enjoy today. The golden age of video rental stores. For many of us who grew up in the 80s, 90s, and even the early 2000s, the Friday night pilgrimage to the local video rental store was a sacred ritual. Remember the brightly lit aisles, lined with rows upon rows of VHS tapes, and later DVDs. The smell of popcorn and anticipation hanging in the air. The thrill of browsing the new releases, hoping to snag that coveted blockbuster before it was all rented out. Video rental stores, like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, were more than just places to borrow movies. They were community hubs, gathering spots where you could debate the merits of the latest action flick, discover hidden cinematic gems, and bond over a shared love of film. But as the internet revolutionized the way we consume entertainment, video rental stores found themselves facing an existential threat. Netflix, with its revolutionary mail-order DVD service, and later, its groundbreaking streaming platform, offered convenience and choice that brick-and-mortar stores simply couldn't match. One by one, the lights went out at video rental stores across the country, leaving behind a void that's both nostalgic and a little bit bittersweet. Today, only a single Blockbuster store remains, a lone survivor in Bend, Oregon, serving as a poignant reminder of a bygone era when movie night meant a trip to the video store, a carefully chosen selection of films, and the shared anticipation of a night spent immersed in cinematic worlds. Did I miss any iconic 70s fads? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, check out more videos in this series. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Who remembers with your friends who might enjoy these nostalgic blasts from the past? Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.